like to talk today about paring knives. They're one of the 2 or 3 knives that if you have a kitchen, home kitchen, that you're going to want to have. You're going to want to have a chef's or a santoku knife. You're going to want a paring knife and a bread knife. And everything else is pretty much extra if you're doing the Western thing, the Western type of cutlery. Japanese, they have a knife specialized for everything. That's a whole another matter. But even then, at home, they only use certain knives for certain things. That's where the santoku actually really came from. It means 3-in-1 or something. So it's a cleaver, chef's knife, and something else. But anyway, I want to talk about paring knives. I got a really interesting knife sent to me by Roman Landez. This is a Robert Herter Windmill Knives paring knife. It's got a Warncliffe blade, a cherry wood handle, ground, never seen anything ground like this before. It's like a straight razor, literally. It makes the thinnest knives I have seem like they're axes. This is a Kiwi. They say steak knife is a utility paring knife, whatever. Kiwi brand made in Thailand. And then the next thinnest is Victorinox. These are awesome blades, but they still, compared to the Herter, and they're relatively the same price, you know. Victorinox $5-8, whatever. Herter's 10, whatever, 12, 15. Same thing with the Opinel. Opinel's a really nice blade. Ground relatively thin to everything else, but compared to the Herter, it's a chopping blade, you know. Then I also have Luis, my friend in Portugal, on the forum, sent me this one. This is a E. Perez Inox Verdugo. I probably butchered that all to Kingdom Come, but it's a very nice Portuguese knife, very thin, awesome blade, partial tang, round handle. I love this thing. And then I picked this one up. This is just a Tramontina chisel grind, little hollow saber grind. Nice handle. It's got inset. The full tang is inset, so you have a little bit of grippiness because the handles are a little bigger. Awesome handle, awesome knife. It's actually chisel ground for a right-hand user instead of most. They put it on the show side. They grind it, so that's actually for a left-handed person. This is actually ground for a right, so this is a very nice knife when you need a thicker knife. And then I have my True Edge Ontario knife. This is a lot thicker. It came full saber grind. I made it a convex. Very thick grind, but thick sometimes is handy. Not always, but for some things, you know, it depends on what you're cutting. That's why the Japanese have a million different blades for a bunch of different stuff, because each material reacts different. So some grinds are better, some grinds aren't. But for general overall use, that's what we're looking at today. And then I got these at Kitchen Caboodle, a local one of the older kitchen stores here. And this was on sale, so I got a pack of 3 of Wusthof silver points. Wusthof isn't the best. I'd rather have Victorinox, you know, but handle's not bad. It came with the spear point blade, a Warncliffe blade, which I really like. These are really handy for, you can do almost everything with just one of these. All the cooking, it's a little more work, but you can almost do everything. And then a little hawkbill. Love hawkbills also. Very handy for stuff. I'd always heard the word paring. I never knew what paring meant. Looked it up in the dictionary. It means to peel. So you want to peel potatoes, you want one of these knives. You want to peel carrots, you want one of these knives. These are what they're used good for. So you want them kind of thin. You know, you maybe want a handle smaller than others. The Robert Herter has a thinner handle, which makes it so you're not holding it like this. You're holding it, this is how I hold it. You're holding like this with your fingertips or whatever. You have way more control, and because it cuts so easily, like you have to put like so much less pressure behind it. You can get away with cutting just a little bit. And I'm going to do a separate video on this blade itself, but and then you've got these little cheap 2 for 99 cents, but these are actually really good knives. Again, they got a smaller handle, so you can get a lot of control over it. Not bad chisel ground. It's on the wrong side if you're right-handed, but you can. These are really easy to grind. You can regrind them to be a double grind. double bevel, so I've done it. You can zero grind them. You can make the grind on the other side. Just takes a little work with a scythe, garden stone or something if you're doing it by hand. I've done it. Hour or two grinding, maybe half hour, depends, you know, not a big deal. Send it to me. I'll sharpen these, regrind them. You have them push cutting phone book paper. Takes a little bit of effort because the steel is real burry and gummy and doesn't like to apex sometimes. But and if you want to get good at sharpening, get yourself some of these and try to get them to shave or push cut phone book paper or newsprint. You'll learn a lot of stuff, a lot of things by sharpening these. So wanted to go over how thin the grind is. Like this one is a fillet knife, folding fillet knife from Benchmade. You see how thin that is. Again, compared to the herder, it's see how flexible that is. It's very thick. This is another favorite knife of mine. This is a XOX or OXO paring knife. Again, thick saber grind. I convex this again. The tip broke off of it. Reformed the tip, and it's got a nice handle. I have sometimes problems with my hands, so a nice cushy handle is nice sometimes. But I want to go show how thinly ground these things are, if I can get it. That's the edge leading. This is the spine. That's the Benchmade folding. It's a smaller folding one. This is the kiwi. That's the edge. This is the no, that was the spine. This is the edge. That was the Victorinox. That was the, let me just do it again. Victorinox edge, Victorinox spine, Opinel edge, Opinel spine, Tramontina edge, Tramontina spine. Oh wow. Cut myself, didn't even know it. Bleeding like crazy. Let me take care of that real quick. Yeah, just, I guess the tip of something caught me. It's always the little nicks that bleed like crazy. That's one of the things that you also should understand about high sharpness knives. Takes a little bit of adjusting to get used to, because like literally you just like barely graze yourself, you will see that's just a little tiny thing, but it's bleeding like crazy. You will end up bleeding. Like the first time I cut, like I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, when I was able to get knives that were high sharpness, my whole hands, both hands, just had, I had like a dozen little nicks on each hand, and it took me a while to handle it. I mean, still, even if you're not careful, you like what happened, I guess, right now is you get the tip. You'll be bleeding. Bleeding's not bad. You mess with knives, you cook, you get burned. You mess with knives, you get cut. I've had a whole bunch of stitches and whatever. It's not as big of a deal. So that was Opinel Tramontina. This is the XOX or OXO. One of my favorite brands if you like a budget brand. This, now you can see this is a lot thicker. This is the Ontario blade. And then finally, this is the little 99-cent paring blade. Alright, so, let me do the Wusthof ones. These are actually fairly thin stock, like thin at the spine. they are a little thicker at the edge, you know. And when I'm talking about thin, I mean, you know, below 15 thou behind the edge. That's where it starts. It's 15. I'm going to call it the rule of 15. 15 degrees per side is where performance for me starts. 15 thou behind the edge is where performance starts, you know. And like Sean, Big Brown Bear, and Steve, Super Steel Steve, have said, you got to measure, if you want to get an accurate idea of what your edge, you got to measure behind the edge and the edge angle, okay? Because like one of the easiest ways to get performance blades, you just got a knife, you want to get it to cut good, reprofile it to a thinner, get it to 15 degrees or below. That's the quickest way. Now it might be a little thicker behind the edge. You can do it, regrind it by hand. It's going to look ugly. Sometimes you can do a good job on it. It's just a lot of work with sandpaper and stuff, wet dry, or you can get it professionally reground by. There's lots of guys out there. Razor Edge Knives, Josh Razor Edge Knives does it different places. So, but this is the Wustav. That's a spine. That's an edge. This is the spine. You can see that's kind of thin stock. It's got a fairly comfortable handle. You know, all of them. It's nice. Pretty much the same thing. It's the edge. This is the spine. So these are probably, I don't know, 20 thou behind the edge. Most of these. Like the Victorinox, I measured it. I think it was 10 or 8 thousandths behind the edge, or less than 15. It was. I can measure all these and put them up on the forum. But anyway, that's it, guys. Thanks for the horror blood show. Sorry about that. Anyway, have a good day.